You're watching Saturday Showcase presented by 5 Hour Energy. Selection Sunday is a to do. 20-win Utah State Aggies. Tonight, the Aggies visit Fresno, California for a date with the Fresno State Bulldogs. As we look at the Mountain West Conference standings, San Diego State wrapped up the regular season title on Tuesday. Meantime, there's still a tight race for second and third place in the conference. Whoever finishes with a 2 or 3 seed wouldn't have to face fourth-ranked San Diego State until the Mountain West Conference Tournament Finals. Welcome, everyone, to Fresno. Alongside Ben Braun, I'm Steve. And Sam Merrill for Utah State when all that I just spoke of is at stake.
You say Sam Merrill, I say coach's dream. Steve, there's nothing this young man can't do, and it's amazing because really in his senior year and throughout his career, he's just done some remarkable things for his team.
Became the 4th player in program history to score 2,000 points. Just past Wayne Estes for 3rd place with 2,028 points. 100 points out of the second State bench, and we are about ready to go. Aggies looking for win number 21 of the season. Joe Lenardi has Utah State as one of his 4 out with exactly a month to go before Selection Sunday. So, Coach Braun, they need to keep this thing rolling here tonight in Fresno. There's little room for error.
Well, there is, but don't count the Aggies out on getting into that tournament. I've seen them a number of times this year. They can really play, and they're going to be up against a hungry and a really, I think, a spirited Bulldog squad.
Mimi Ishketa jumping against Nate Grimes, and it's Utah State in blue on the road tonight, a 20-win team with the opening possession. Here's Sam Merrill's first touch of the game. Porter back to Merrill. He's open for a 3 and misses off the front of the rim. Boy, it helps when you got Kate and Bean right there to get an offensive rebound, doesn't it?
Steve, they've got size, and they're going to utilize that size as often as they can. What does size give you? It gives you offensive rebounds and reloads. And what did they do? They made use of their reload.
Fresno State starting 5. They have 3 seniors, 2 freshmen out there. Hyder and Robinson, 3 and 10 are your 2 freshmen, and they've been outstanding at times this season. Robinson's been a little more consistent of the 2. Hyder will run the point along with Williams at times, and right on cue, Orlando Robinson, the freshman from Las Vegas, scores.
Well, he's had a phenomenal freshman year, and he's doing that now over taller opponents, but he's agile, he can knock down shots. Keep your eyes on him. He's going to be a key to this game.
12 straight game for this Utah State starting lineup, and this group has won 3 straight, 6 of their last 7. So starting to get some chemistry here right at the perfect time of the season to get it. Porter forced it up. Bean is right there on the offensive glass, and he's got the first 5 for the Aggies.
Well, that's something that Fresno State's going to have to pay attention to, Steve. They've got These can climb the boards. They've got a number of guys that can go up and get offensive rebounds.
Robinson trying to stretch the floor. The 3 in and out. Knocked it away from Cada, and Bean comes away with it. Utah State then ranked 25th, beat the Bulldogs in overtime in Logan back on December the 7th. That night the Aggies shot 60% from the floor, and it was Nimi Cada's first game back from injury. Here's Brock Miller. Good look at a 3, missed, but Bean's got another offensive rebound. He leads the conference in that category. Miller drives, and the floater goes.
Steve, again, you know, the offensive rebounds, you've got to play one and done with the Aggies. You cannot allow them to get second chance crack opportunities. So we'll see if that's something that Coach Justin Hudson can really impose upon his players.
7-2 start for Utah State. Williams to Robinson. The double team comes, and he's able to get it to an open Blackwell who can stick some 3s, and he misses there. Grimes on the offensive board. Puts it back up and sticks the second chance opportunity.
Well, that was a great offensive tip out. Really what you wanted to keep that ball alive and enable the Bulldogs to get another crack. That's really heads-up play. Fresno
State is second in the conference in offensive rebounding as Bean buries another 3. What a start for Justin Bean.
Well, you've got to get out to the 3-point line. If he measures his shot, it's bottoms. And he's had time to cock and load, and he's made the most of it.
Justin Bean has 8 of the first 10 for Utah State. Justin Bean averages a double-double, a little over 12 points, 10 rebounds a game. Now he gets a chance to run the floor momentarily. it into the lane. I think his coach wanted him to shoot. Instead, he goes out to Miller, who can't stick the three. And in transition, here come the Bulldogs.
Well, Fresno State's going to have to get some scores in transition, Steve. And, you know, that was one of the things that Craig Smith was really concerned about.
That was his point of emphasis, right, defensively. And there's a turnover for Fresno State. And a substitution. We're going to see another freshman come on the floor. This is Anthony Holland from Riverside, California, and he replaces fellow freshman Orlando Robinson.
Well, when you defend Utah State, you know, you've got to keep fresh bodies out there. They really put pressure on you, and it's hard to play if you're fatigued. So look for Fresno State to get some guys in the game and try to stay a little fresh.
Meantime, Craig Smith has stayed with his same starting five. Almost 4 minutes into this contest. Why not? If it's not broke, don't fix it. They have 10 quick points. Here's Cada against Grimes. The double team comes. He fights through it to pass to Brock Miller. And Miller with another floater. And they get another offensive rebound. So that's been the story in the early going. Offensive rebounds, giving you second chance opportunities, and the Aggies making the most of it. Look at Merrill just slip right past New Williams. Senior on senior, and Grimes has the rebound.
Well, there's a reason they're getting offensive rebounds, because Fresno State is cracking down and double teaming in the post. So you've got to rotate back out and get a body on somebody.
Speaking of offensive rebounds, Fresno State in their win against San Jose State earlier in the week, 21 offensive rebounds in that game.
Another point of emphasis for Coach Smith today. That's all he talked about, is the ability they have to crash offensive glass.
Another missed shot, this time out of the hands of Jared Hyder. He's a freshman from down in Southern California. A couple of fresh bodies will come in for Craig Smith's Aggies at the break. The media timeout's coming up, and Justin Bean with a miss. Pace favoring Utah State at this point?
I think so. I think Fresno State's not getting out and running like they can, and they're not knocking down shots. But you've got to pay attention, because transition teams can get going and put points on the board in a hurry.
Fresno State is off for a 2-for-6 start.
Steve, the best way to keep teams from starting transition is to play solid offensively, not turn it over, something Coach talked about, and get good shots. It's important.
Cada out to Porter, and he misses. Well, if you like missed shots, this is your game, huh, partner?
Yeah, so far, they're neither team lighting it up, but it'll change. Believe me, there's enough good shooters on this floor, Steve, that they'll start finding their rhythm.
I mean, into it here all night in Fresno.
Well, they've had some good looks, there's no question. They just haven't knocked it down.
Grimes is going to take a three and miss badly. Still waiting on a whistle for our first media timeout here. Officials have let him play. Merrill, the pass down to Bean, makes the extra pass. Brock Miller misses again.
There's a lid somewhere. There's a lid on both ends. But you're right, this is interesting. I've never seen a game kind of go this long into a half. No, not many whistles, and certainly no break yet.
Well, hey, we have dinner reservations at 8:40, so
we'll be all right.
Make it.
Yeah. We'll be good.
Hyder to Holland. New Williams here. 8 to shoot. Williams to Holland. He elevates for a three, and it finally goes down.
He must have heard you, Steve. That's a good look. And, they've had good looks. So sometimes you can't look at a percentage and say, well, we're not shooting it well, and they're getting bad shots. They're getting some looks. They just haven't knocked them down. But that's the kind of play that they're going to need. Looks like there might have been a little bit of injury there. A little bit of an ankle turn.
Sam Merrill trying to fight through something right now, and he drives right into Grimes. Got knocked down, no call on the baseline. And maybe the officials have the same dinner reservations we do. Hyder in transition, and a block by Cada. Outstanding. Lob back door. Oh, that was Blackwell for Grimes, and that didn't go down.
Steve, a lot of contact both ends, but the officials have not. They've been consistent now. They have not blown the whistle. You got to let officials that let you play.
Merrill, a deep three is good.
So much for his injury. Shooter shoots, Steve. They don't worry. It doesn't matter. One ankle, two ankles. They put it up. This has been an interesting contest so far.
First points of the game for Merrill. He's 1 for 4. Blackwell to Grimes. Again, we've had no whistles in quite a while here. Blown right through our media timeout. Holland with the right hand, no. Loose ball, Bean has it to Keita, and they let him play on.
Again, consistency. Give me consistency any day. I'll make adjustments.
Now, we're 12 seconds away from blowing through 2 media timeouts.
Who said this is not going to be a record-breaking night? Join the company?
I am. Craig Smith telling his team to move. Porter drives in. Porter throws it up. No. And there's the whistle. Right at what should be the second media break at 11:55 is the first media break. And we have the foul. And when we return, there'll be 11:55 to go in the first half. Utah State with a 6-point lead on the road tonight at Fresno State.
Hi. Hello. I'm Dave. You might know me as Lil Dicky, but there's a lot more to me. Don't you want to know who I am? Not really. Do you want to meet the guy behind the guy? Do you want to know what the industry's like? I got a strange life. Yes, I know that I'm a rapper at the end of the day, but I think it's time you knew me by my government name. Hi, I'm Dave. I'm Lil Dicky. Hi, I'm Dave. Who's Dave? Hi, I'm Dave. Please watch. Please, I'm Lil Dicky. No, shut up. I am Dave.
Media timeout until the 11:55 mark, and Justin Bean, coach, almost has a double-double before the second media timeout.
Well, he averages a double-double, but not this early, Steve. So it's amazing what he's been able to do, just keeping the ball alive. And you know, it's interesting. You asked me who you favor in this tempo, and I say if it's going to be a low-scoring game, I got to give Fresno State, maybe an edge there, because efficiently, offensively, Utah State's one of the most efficient offensive teams in the country. They just really get it done on this end of the floor.
You see Justin Bean, 8 points, 5 rebounds on 3 of 4 shooting. And he also has 2 offensive rebounds. Justin Bean now has 100 offensive rebounds this season. He's the leader at almost 4 a game in the Mountain West Conference.
You know, and he's not a big guy, Steve. He's 6'7", but he's slight. He's 210 pounds. He has got a nose for the ball, and he does a great job of blocking out.
Here's Hart, the freshman that had a sensational game at San Jose State. That's out of bounds. By the way, the foul before the first media timeout on Keita, that was his first. Now it's media break number 2. Just a few seconds after the first one. We're catching up. 6-point lead for Utah State.
Hi. Hello. I'm Dave. You might know me as Lil Dicky, but there's a lot more to me. Don't you want to know who I am? Not really. Do you want to meet the guy behind the guy? Do you want to know what the industry's like? I got a strange life. Yes, I know that I'm a rapper at the end of the day, but I think it's time you knew me by my government name. Hi, I'm Dave. I'm Lil Dicky. Hi, I'm Dave. Who's Dave? Hi, I'm Dave. Please watch. Please, I'm Lil Dicky. No, shut up. I am Dave.
Now on ESPN News alongside Ben Braun. I'm Steve Quist. We're at the Save Mart Center in Fresno, California. Saturday night Mountain West Conference basketball action. On Tuesday of this week, San Diego State wrapped up the regular season. Even third place, so you can stay away from the Aztecs as the 2 or 3 seed in the Mountain West Conference tournament next month in Las Vegas. In this one, both teams are struggling to knock down shots. Utah State 1 of their last 9. Fresno State 1 of their last 7. Justin Bean has 8 points, 5 rebounds, but not much else for anyone else on the floor here in this game.
Well, Utah State's not going to stop shooting. They're one of the top teams in the country in field goal attempts. They're going to put shots up. They put 16 shots up, but they just haven't scored.
That was Bairstow trying to take it to the rim.
I like the aggressiveness of Fresno State. They're playing aggressive on-ball defense, and they're coming there to help inside, which they need to do. They've got some size disadvantages, but they're playing really well on interior defense.
Orlando Robinson back in there, being guarded by the big 7'2" Kuba Karvoski. who's playing in just his 3rd game in the month of February. 4 to shoot. Robinson, looking like a point guard, attacks the rim and draws contact.
Smart play, Steve. That's what you want to do against the bigger and taller Aggies. You've got to isolate. I thought they did a good job, Fresno State, of isolating on the block, on the elbow and driving. That's a really good play. Look for that to happen more this game.
First on Karvovsky. When we were at the shoot-arounds earlier today, as Robinson goes to the free throw line here, you had pointed out Utah State, they get to the free throw line quite a bit. And free throws very well could be key here in this one.
Well, they haven't tonight, Steve, but when you get there as often as they do, which is 3rd in the country, that's really a heck of a sign. That means you're not just going to depend on your outside shot to fall. You're going to find other ways to break the other team's rhythm and hopefully score and get going.
Robinson made 1 of 2. He's had a special freshman year. He has 5 games of 20 points or more. Paul George had 6 when he was a freshman at Fresno State. That's pretty select company.
Absolutely.
Sam Merrill's still on the floor, although Bairstow is handling here. Diogo Brito now into the ballgame for the first time. And Keita is out with that 1 foul. Here's Bean, 8 points, 5 rebounds, goes to work against Orlando Robinson and gets another offensive rebound, his 3rd of the game, and gets the tip in.
Well, Fresno's doing a good job, Steve, defensively. What they have struggled against, though, is giving up offensive rebounds. So you've got to close the door, seal the deal with a defensive rebound.
10 for Bean here in the early going. He's got 10 of the first 15 for Utah State, who comes in as a 20-win team. Today, Joe Lenardi's first 4 out. But this time last week, they were the next 4 out, so they had a good week. Ball is loose. Merrill comes away with it. Bairstow looking inside to Bean against Robinson. And Brito is fouled. That's Aguirre Agau, the 6'7" sophomore from Omaha with a foul. Anthony Holland back in, Alfonso Anderson as well for Utah State.
Steve, I like both teams' approach that, on days when the shot's not falling, they're trying to go inside. Both teams trying to enter the ball on the block, even if it's a step off the block, and create offense from there, whether it's by a one-on-one move or simply passing out of double teams. I like this philosophy. I think it'll pay off as the game goes on.
Inside of 10 minutes to go. 7-point lead for Utah State. Merrill hasn't gotten it going yet. Bairstow on the drive over the top to Karvovsky and knocked out of bounds by Robinson. It's sticking with Utah State.
Fresno State, again, solid job defensively. Can they defend with a short clock and rebound? That's been their nemesis so far, but they got a short clock. They just have to avoid fouling. They have to secure the defensive rebound.
Quick inbound to Alfonso Anderson, a guy who's been sick this week. He's got an easy bucket.
Well, that's unfortunate. That should be an inside-out defensive play, and a little bit of a mix-up there. Point blank to the basket with a short clock.
Fresno State, no field goals in the last 4 minutes, and they've fallen behind now 9 at home. They haven't given the crowd much to get into here. Robinson against Karvovsky with a left hand. He shows you his athletic moves, but just couldn't get that one to go down.
Well, the Aggies went to a zone there, Steve. They went to a 2-3 zone, and why not? When you're that big and you're really got a size advantage everywhere, don't put yourself in a position to get beat off the dribble. Play zone, and that's what Coach Greg Smith did on that last possession. It paid off.
Nate Grimes comes back in. The senior, his 5th season here at Fresno State. A week ago, he was held scoreless at UNLV for the first time all season. 9 minutes to go, 9-point lead for Utah State, looking for win number 21. Merrill, step back jumper is good over the freshman Heider.
You know, I didn't see anything on that play, and I'm sure Fresno State didn't see much either. And here's Merrill making something out of nothing. That's just a great individual play.
He's got 5 points. That is short, and last touched by Fresno State out of the hands of Robinson with a miss, and so it's Utah State basketball. 6-0 run for Utah State here to build a 19-8 lead, a double-digit lead for the first time in this game. As you look at Justin Hudson, his 2nd year, won 23 games last year and lost a lot of weapons. There's a lot of freshmen who are contributing quite a bit?
Well, they had a phenomenal first year. I know he's frustrated losing a lot of close games this year, but boy, he had a tremendous first year.
Bairstow got a good look, but Grimes is there to deflect it. Bairstow got it back, feeds Brito, and Diogo Brito has the bucket down the lane. Here's that zone again for Utah State. Trying to make it very difficult on a Fresno State team.
Well, now they switch back man-to-man. Look for Fresno to try to drive the man-to-man pressure.
Here's Hart, career high 30 points against San Jose State on Wednesday, and he draws contact. And the foul is going to be against Diogo Brito. And so we'll have free throws for the Bulldogs when we come back. 7:55 to go, first half of play. Utah State with their biggest lead of the night. The 20-win Aggies have 21, Fresno State 8. ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is presented by 5 Hour Energy Shots, now in 2 great tropical flavors.
Hi. Hello. I'm Dave. You might know me as Lil Dicky, but there's a lot more to me. Don't you want to know who I am? Not really. Do you want to meet the guy behind the guy? Do you want to know what the industry's like? I got a strange life. Yes, I know that I'm a rapper at the end of the day, but I think it's time you knew me by my government name. Hi, I'm Dave. I'm Lil Dicky. Hi, I'm Dave. Who's Dave? Hi, I'm Dave. Please watch. Please, I'm Lil Dicky. No, shut up. I am Dave.
Why do you travel? Because nothing compares to being there. Dulles flies nonstop to 145 destinations, so you can go there and do that.
Tonight at 21-8, 7:55 to go before halftime. This is our next Super Tuesday doubleheader on ESPN and the ESPN app. Purdue against Wisconsin in a battle in the Big Ten of teams trying to stay off the bubble at 7 Eastern, 6 Central. Then Coach Cal and number 12, the Kentucky Wildcats, square off against number 25 LSU at the Maravich Center in Baton Rouge in a big matchup between 2 of the top teams in the SEC. And of course, Utah State has a win earlier this season against LSU. Joe Lunardi has 11 Big Ten teams in the tournament right now, a 12th group there with Utah State. And what are your thoughts on 11 teams out of the Big Ten?
Steve, I was just with Joe Lunardi doing a game out east, and it was interesting. We talked about it, and at the time there were not 11 teams, so that just changed. But they've had a banner year. It was only a year or 2 ago that the Big Ten was down, and as was the Pac-12 down, and now that's turned its tide. There's 6 teams in the Pac-12, so things come and go. There's obviously, it depends on the year, but that's amazing when a conference can put double figures anywhere, and that shows you the strengths of that league.
The Big Ten has not had a national championship in 20 years now, since Michigan State in 2000. Here's New Williams, a deep 3. Grimes with authority on the offensive rebound. Keita momentarily blocked it, and then a foul will be called. If this is going on Keita, that's going to be his second.
See, let's look at this again. Look at the up and under. Shot fake, up and under, doesn't bring it down, draws contact. Great play. That's just really a great habit. Big guys, as you know, tend to bring it down, but that was a great way to draw a foul.
And they got Diogo Brito, so a little bit of luck there for Utah State. And we talked the second on Keita.
Yeah, well, we talked about defense, Steve. Both teams really are good defensive teams. Fresno State holding their opponents to 41%. That's getting it done, and they're doing a good job today at 40%.
Holland trying to fight for that rebound with Keita. It's out of bounds, and Holland touched it last.
But it's Utah State that's holding their opponents 39% of the year to 21% today. They are really playing defense at a high level. They're getting after it.
Back to bracketology for a moment, just to show you what is on the line here for Utah State. Remember, San Diego State wrapped up the regular season championship, so there won't be one for Utah State this year. Their net ranking as of today is 46, so they're a quad 1 win for teams. SDSU still net ranking #1, and Lunardi as of 12:45 today. Utah State in the first 4 out.
Well, that can change. That's today, and game that can change. But here's a replay of that last drive, and you can see that that's what Sam Merrill can do. I think he's still struggling a little bit on his ankle, but he doesn't struggle mentally. He knows what to do. But you mentioned the bracketology and everything, and you got to be careful because you don't want what's called a bad loss. A bad loss can get you right out of the tournament. Take it. The opportunity, and the only problem is sometimes you get in your conference and you don't have those opportunities, and so you really don't have an ability to grow. But I think Utah State is tournament worthy. There's no question watching them all year play. They
at the free throw line for Sam Merrill, who's at 89%. That's in his career as well. He's the current Mountain West Conference all-time leader. Rare miss. Here's Hart rising up on the baseline. What a battle between Queta and Grimes here in the early going. Queta is barking at Grimes right now and finally gets that one. That's just the second rebound of the game for Nimi Queta. No field goals in the last 7 minutes now for Fresno State.
There's a drought, but there's something that Utah State has to say about that.
Queta missed with the left hand from right inside the paint. Williams lobs it up and throwing it down is Nevin Hart.
Steve, that's exactly what Fresno State has to do. They have got to get out in transition. Hard to run transition if you're not getting stops, but they got to stop, they got to break, and they scored on the lob. Great play in transition.
Hart has 3 points, coming off that career-high 30-point game against San Jose State on Wednesday. 3 Bulldog freshmen have scored 25 or more points in a game this year. And they rely a lot on that class. And here is going to be an offensive foul on Hart on the offensive end.
Well, here's the play again, that left-hand lob to the rim. Transition, such a good opportunity to get scores before your defense gets set. You let Utah State get set, Steve, they're a phenomenal defensive team. You can beat them in transition, you got an opportunity to get some easy scores.
Hart, the last 3 games, averaging almost 25 points, 5 boards, and shooting 52% from the field. And he still only averages 8 points a game. Lead is 11. Here's Merrill. And Merrill finds a shot in the lane, misses, and it's rebounded by Grimes. Talked about Merrill, maybe he tweaked an ankle we saw in the backcourt earlier before we went to a break not too long ago.
Didn't look as explosive, Steve. I agree. I think that he'll need halftime to see if he can recover a little bit because he's a little sluggish, not putting all that weight on his ankle like he normally does.
Here's Grimes with 9 to shoot. Grimes to Gow. That's a terrific pass by Grimes.
Well, I like the cut. I love basket cuts, putting pressure on the defense, and that was a great find. Fresno State climbing back in it.
Yeah, Gow hadn't played since February 4th against Colorado State. Miller misses. Justin Hudson had kind of relied on this 7-man rotation the last few days. Hart streaking down the floor into traffic, puts it up wildly, and freshmen will do that, huh?
Well, you can always tell a freshman, but you can't tell him much.
That's right.
Pete Miller used to say that all the time. Oh, I love it too. Freshmen didn't like it.
Coming up on 4.5 to go. Here's Queta down in the post against Grimes. Bumped the body, turned and shot over Grimes and hits the bucket.
Well, the officials are, we said this earlier, Steve, they're letting them play. They're letting both teams bump and play. It's been like an NBA game, but I like the rhythm, and both teams, again, trying to get going on the block if they can, getting opportunities to the basket.
First field goal of the game for Queta, and the answer on the other end is a 3 from Nate Grimes.
That's a big 3. Much needed.
First time around, he had 22 points, 10 rebounds against the Aggies on December the 7th up at Logan. Grimes has 5, leading scorer in the game for the Bulldogs now. And Queta trying to do too much. Grimes was right there. On the run out, Williams pulls up for a wing 3 and misses.
Well, post players have got to learn to slow down and get themselves fouled. And he had an opportunity to do that.
And Hyder comes in, knocks it away. It's going to stay with Utah State here.
A lot of new bodies coming in.
Utah State an 8-point advantage over Fresno State. They've asked a lot out of the freshmen this year, whether it's been Robinson, whether it's been Holland. Now it is Hart coming through. It's been Hyder at times this year. And Fresno State right back in this one. Down only 8 tonight at home.
Hi. Hello. I'm Dave. You might know me as Lil Dicky, but there's a lot more to me. Don't you want to know who I am? Not really. Do you want to meet the guy behind the guy? Do you want to know what the industry is like? I got a strange life. Yes, I know that I'm a rapper at the end of the day, but I think it's time you knew me by my government name. Hi, I'm Dave. I'm Lil Dicky. Hi, I'm Dave. Who's Dave? Hi, I'm Dave. Please watch. Please, I'm Lil Dicky. No, shut up. I am Dave.
Now with an 8-point lead over Fresno. Well, tomorrow our XFL game comes to you from LA with Nelson Spruce, who had 11 catches for 103 yards in week 1, leading the Wildcats against the Dallas Renegades, who will have Landry Jones back at quarterback. That's 3 Eastern, noon Pacific on ABC and the ESPN app. I don't know much about the XFL. Is that Nelson? Is that the Nelson from The Simpsons? No? Receiver, but good for him. Steve Quist, Ben Braun with you, courtside here, Save Bart Center, and just kind of a strange first half. Sam Merrill hasn't gotten it going yet. He's got 6 points on 2 of 6 shooting. Justin Bean closing in on a double-double with 10 and 6.
I think Fresno's done a good job. I mean, they're down, but they've held Utah State actually down. They've only put them to the foul line twice, and you know, Utah State leads the country in foul attempts. So.
This is that unit we saw after the first media timeout come in with Brito, and Diogo lobs it up for Karvosky.
Well, that last play drove Craig Smith crazy. That was a design play out of the timeout. I'm not sure we can get that again, but I'll tell you this, Steve. They went up to the rim, and as big guys tend to do, they just went with the one hand. You go up with 2 hands, that's a sure 2. You can hear Craig Smith in front of us say, go up and make the layup, grab it with 2. You know, you don't need degree of difficulty, right? Just go up and make it an easy play.
This is just Karvosky's 3rd game of the month. He played 10 minutes the other night on the road at Colorado State, but he took an ill-advised 3 and sat and never returned to the games.
Yeah, that'll happen.
Coming off an appendectomy that he had back in November.
One thing coaches don't have is amnesia. No, I never lost my memory. And you tend to remember things like that. And the bench, by the way, is a pretty good motivator. Not always, but most of the time.
Fouls on Hyder. Jared, the freshman from Damien High School down in Southern California, picks up his first. Curling around is Merrill, a couple of screens to bury the open mid-range jumper.
Well, does he make that look easy, Steve? He just comes off screens. You're right, he curled off at 2 screens right to the basketball and just bottoms. He's got such great rhythm.
Merrill with 8 first half points. And here's Williams with the left hand and gets the scoop shot lane to go.
Very nice shot with the left. And that's what they're going to need. Steve, they're going to need to get to the rim a lot more. You know, I talked about Sam Merrill being a coach's dream, but guess what? He's also a coach's nightmare on the other end.
Yes, he is.
Just when you think you haven't defended.
Great steal by Hyder. Hyder against Merrill, and Merrill grabs him.
Smart foul.
That'll be a foul, yep.
Very smart foul. It's a heady senior right there. You don't get the wraparound. You don't get the intentional foul, but you make sure it's on the floor. You're not in the bonus. And here you can see it again. Here's a break, and he gets him early right there. No intentional, didn't grab the uniform. A smart senior.
Queta and Bairstow back into the game. Diogo Brito sits, Karvosky sits as well. 2:19 to go here in this first half. Fresno State down 8 points. Trying to get into some sort of a rhythm. Won an overtime game earlier this week at San Jose State on the road where they had 21 offensive rebounds.
That was a big win. They needed that.
And a drive and a bucket. Noah Blackwell, who was big a week ago in that loss to UNLV.
Speaking of big, that was a huge shot. That was a runner off the glass.
Now all of a sudden that drought is long gone. They're 5 of their last 7. Wide open is Porter. And he misses, and Holland fights with Bean, and it's going to be a jump ball. And the possession arrow is going to point toward Fresno State.
Native's a little restless on that call, but good thing is it goes back to Fresno State. I don't know that either team had possession of that basketball. pretty quick whistle, but again, hasn't been many whistles, so it can't be critical here. Officials have let them play.
And you have to applaud the Bulldogs. They were down 13. Now they have made it a 2-possession game. Here's Hyder, freshman, running the baseline out to the fellow freshman Holland. New Williams, a deep 3 over Merrill, and he buries it.
Well, I like the ability of Fresno State to just maintain their composure, Steve. They were down double digits, and they didn't show any sign of panic. They've got right back in, and now Craig Smith's going to have to take a timeout or lose it this half, and that's a good timeout by Craig Smith.
Big 3 by Williams. He's in his 4th and final year here at Fresno State. His career started at Auburn, and he's made this a 1-possession game.
Hi. Hello. I'm Dave. You might know me as Lil Dicky, but there's a lot more to me. Don't you want to know who I am? Not really. Do you want to meet the guy behind the guy? Do you want to know what the industry is like? I got a strange life. Yes, I know that I'm a rapper at the end of the day, but I think it's time you knew me by my government name. Hi, I'm Dave. I'm Lil Dicky. Hi, I'm Dave. Who's Dave? Hi, I'm Dave. Please watch. Please, I'm Lil Dicky. No, shut up. I am Dave.
It's tough to quit smoking cold turkey, so Chantix can help you quit slow turkey. Along with support, Chantix is proven to help you quit. With Chantix, you can keep smoking at first and ease into quitting. So when the day arrives, you'll be more ready to kiss cigarettes goodbye. When you try to quit smoking, with or without Chantix, you may have nicotine withdrawal symptoms. Stop Chantix and get help right away if you have changes in behavior or thinking, aggression, hostility, depressed mood, suicidal thoughts or actions, seizures, new or worse heart or blood vessel problems, sleepwalking, or life-threatening allergic and skin reactions. Decrease alcohol use, use caution driving or operating machinery. Tell your doctor if you've had mental health problems. The most common side effect is nausea. Talk to your doctor about Chantix.
San Jose State Wednesday in overtime, their 4th overtime game of the season, and despite sitting here in 8th place, they're giving Utah State all they can handle through the game's first 19 minutes.
Well, you remember early in the year, they went on the road and played the same Utah State team. Very tough at Utah State, so there's no fear factor here. They know they can play.
Yep, that game went into overtime despite the Aggies shooting 60% on their home floor. Cada, a little drop step, got position on Robinson and scores.
Well, that's been their go-to move after every timeout. If you chart Craig Smith, they're going inside, and they're going inside to that young man, and he's delivered.
4 for Cada, who averages 12 points, almost 7 boards a game. His 16th game back after the summer knee injury sidelined him to begin the year. Bairstow in the passing lane knocked it away. It's staying with the Bulldogs.
I don't be surprised if you see Utah State maybe go back and play a little bit of zone. Fresno State's got some great quickness, and they put pressure on you. They can get into the lane. They can get great shots. So look for that as a possibility, but Utah State's got to make sure they stay down their stance, and they got to guard penetration.
Hyder drives into traffic. Here's Williams. Holland launches with 1 to go on the shot clock. It got ironed. Merrill clears the rebound.
Great defense, Steve. That's the kind of defense that Craig Smith wants his team to play, and they were really locked in their stance.
Shot clock is off now, and Utah State can play for the final shot. Merrill, and Merrill buries a 3. You're loving that. You just gave me a little elbow here.
Well, is there any surprise? You know what I loved about it, Steve, is he made the shot, but he makes it look so easy. I mean, that's a 3-2-1, and you can see he's made that shot in practice countless times. I loved it. This young man is just a pleasure and a joy to watch. But boy, if you're Fresno State, you better have an answer for him second half. But give Fresno State credit. They came back and they've really battled back. This is going to be a great basketball game.
Yeah, Merrill had 11 in the first half. Justin Bean, 10 points, 6 rebounds, and Merrill salvaged a first half, which saw him start slowly. 8-point lead for the Aggies on the road. College basketball is brought to you by Snickers. The world's a better place when satisfied. Welcome back to Saturday Showcase, presented by 5 Hour Energy. Utah State leading Fresno State 31-23 at the half. Aggies sit in Joe Lenardi's first 4 out, and they're looking for a 21st victory of the regular season. Back alongside Ben Braun, I'm Steve Quiss. Sam Merrill, slow start to the first half, but did finish with 11 points, and the Aggies in line here to pick up a 21st win.
Well, they needed him to step up because he's really done a great job in making big shots. He certainly knocked down a huge shot at the end of the half, but he's just so good at shooting off the dribble. He's got great rhythm, great poise, and they're going to need his presence today because Fresno State's come here to play. They're playing good defense. They're struggling on the offensive end, but Sam Merrill that really has stepped up and made huge shots. And I know if you're Justin Hudson, he and the staff will talk about that at halftime. How do you get the ball out of Sam Merrill's hands? Make somebody else beat you.
Sam Merrill just passed Fresno State alum Marvell Harris for 5th all-time in scoring in Mountain West Conference history, and he could move past Wyoming's Justin James in 4 days on the 19th at home against Wyoming, so he could be the 4th leading scorer here shortly.
You know, Steve, I've coached against a couple of those guys he's chasing, and those are some awfully good players. So if he can notch a couple more, he's going to be in great company. He's had a phenomenal career. And, you know, you talk about Fresno State and what they need to do. Not only do they need to come out and really have a plan for Sam Merrill, which is easier said than done, but they've got to find a way. They gave up 11 second chance points, and that's been the difference in this game. That alone has really forced Fresno State to play from behind.
Well, the Aggies looking for a 21st win of the season. Craig Smith to the right of us is looking for career win number 200 between here, South Dakota, and then Mayville State. So he could pick up quite a milestone here tonight. Well, much respect for Craig Smith. What he's done in his previous stops is just nothing short of incredible at South Dakota. We all know the run he had, but you know, he's done a good job with the Utah State Aggies, but he's going to have to coach his guys this game because Fresno State's going to come here ready to play. Here's a trap to start the half. Big first half for Justin Bean, almost a double-double, 10.6 rebounds. Diogo Brito is open for 3, misfires, and it's rebounded by Hyder. Hyder tries to put it into another gear to fellow freshman Robinson. Spin move, and boy, he just gets erratic sometimes, and he gets bailed out right there on a foul, but might have hit the back of his head. Well, you mentioned being a little bit out of control, but you can see Fresno State's strategy this half. They're going to try to pick up the pressure, try to get some runouts, and score with their quickness. They've got to try to beat Utah State to the spot. They've got a quickness advantage in some of these positions, so it's important that Fresno State plays quick. Foul was on Justin Bean, and that is Fresno State was down as many as 13 in the first half, pulled to within 1 possession, and now find themselves down 8 points. And Grimes at 3 straight away is good. Well, he's been the answer for Fresno State. You leave him open, he's going to knock some shots down. Fresno State really doing a good job of rotating the ball in that possession, finding Grimes. 8.7 rebounds for Grimes. When he was held scoreless last Saturday night at UNLV, he had 0 points, 10 rebounds in a game. It's rare you ever see a box score that has that in it. Well, it means that the young man keeps playing. You don't stop playing if the ball's not going down. Much respect when you can play other areas of the game. Well, we had no whistles to start the first half, it seemed. Fastest first half I've ever seen. Yeah. And now we're going to see a few more whistles. I think maybe. Foul was on Grimes. Robinson from behind blocks Bean. But last touch by Robinson on the block. That is the 3rd block of the game for Orlando Robinson. That's a second point-blank layup that Utah State's got. Merrill, and we saw that at the end of the first half, right? Coming around those screens and getting open right there on the baseline. You beat me to the spot, Steve. That's the second time we saw the exact same play. It's that curl off of a double screen, and Sam Merrill pretty naked coming off that screen. 13 now from Merrill, coming off a 32-point game on Tuesday at Colorado State, where he made 6 threes. Well, I like that strategy, Steve. What they did is they ran Sam Merrill through some screens.
You know, when a scorer is scoring, you got to find a way to get his rhythm. And one way is to go at him offensively, and make him play some defense.
Second made three of the game for New Williams, who made 4 threes against the Aggies back in December. He had a 26-point game inside. A good look and an answer on the other end.
Well, Fresno had a great double there. I don't know how he got out of that double. They're supposed to turn you to the middle, and somehow he made a baseline spin. That's a no-no in a double team. Never let a player go baseline.
Dozen for Justin Bean to go along with those 6 rebounds. Lead is 6 inside of 18 minutes to go. Robinson kind of forced it up, and Keita has another rebound. Here's Diogo Brito. He's from Portugal, much like Keita. Williams did a good job that time defensively on Merrill. Couldn't pull the trigger. Miller is open. Miller fires and buries the 3.
Very good patience by Utah State. I thought Fresno State's defense was very strong early on the clock, but Utah State wore them down with some screens and some great ball movement.
Brock Miller had 52 threes coming in. Only Sam Merrill has made more this season for the Aggies. And Miller makes his first 3 of the night, giving 5 points. Robinson, and he got blocked by Keita. And Keita just passed the century mark in blocks. Got 103 career blocks now for him. Merrill, I mean, just pulling the trigger. It's unbelievable.
Knocking in the ribs every time that young man makes a shot. He makes it look so easy. I mean, it's a tough shot, and he drops it like it's nothing. It's just great rhythm. He's got an extreme amount of confidence. It's great to see people play with confidence.
Sam Merrill has 16, rising up as Grimes and missing. Now, would you be surprised if I told you Sam Merrill has 7 games in his career with 30 or more points, and they've all been on the road?
Is that amazing? That tells you something about the young man, because that's hard to do that anywhere, but even harder to do on the road. And so you have to have a player like that in your program, Steve, if you want to be successful. If you want to be a tournament team, you're going to have to learn how to win it on the road. And Utah State has been dominant at home, 13-1, but yet they still struggle a little bit on the road. You know, they haven't quite had the same record on the road, so 3-5. So they're going to have to get some wins on the road if they're going to want to get back in the tournament selection talk.
Second foul on Keita. An 8-0 run is what Grimes just ended right there with a 3.
Well, I know Craig Smith is looking at his team like, that young man's already knocked a couple down. Somebody get out and get a hand up. Make him put the ball on the deck. He's got a great rhythm going right now.
Yeah, right now it's Grimes against the Aggies in the second half.
Yeah.
Grimes with 11. They feed Keita on the post, goes up with a right hand, misses. Rebound Holland. Here's Hyder. Hyder pulls up from the free throw line, buries the jumper.
Well, there's a gamble by Utah State, and the gamble didn't pay off. You went for the steal. Fresno State makes you pay, knocks down the medium-range jump shot.
Hyder, one of 3 freshmen on the roster with a 25-point game this season. He scored 20 or more in 4 games. And a takeaway for Fresno State.
You see how quick they are on the double team. They get down halfway on the catch, and they get all the way on the dribble. You got to make sure you get a quick move.
Hyder for 3, and a rebound Brito.
Both teams, I think, doing a good job getting down on the post. It's really important. You get halfway on the catch, and then as soon as that ball goes in the deck, Steve, there's immediate help.
Merrill dribbling through traffic. There were 3 guys on him. Takes the handoff from Keita. He likes to shoot off that. This time he drives and draws contact. Timeout on the floor. Grimes single-handedly keeping the Fresno State Bulldogs in this one. Double figures on this Saturday night. 11 points, 7 rebounds for the senior in his 5th season here in Fresno.
Hi. Hello. I'm Dave. You might know me as Lil Dicky, but there's a lot more to me. Don't you want to know who I am? Not really. Do you want to meet the guy behind the guy? Do you want to know what the industry is like? I got a strange life. Yes, I know that I'm a rapper at the end of the day, but I think it's time you knew me by my government name. Hi, I'm Dave. I'm Lil Dicky. Hi, I'm Dave. Who's Dave? Hi, I'm Dave. Please watch. Please, I'm Lil Dicky. No, shut up. I am Dave.
Why do you travel? Because nothing compares to being there. Dulles flies nonstop to 145 destinations, so you can go there and do that.
this game is huge.
Lace up your boots cause the race is on. Ain't no one taking me out my zone.
I like it. Keep hitting them.
If you ain't worthy, I'll take it through.
Energy! Oh!
Going for greatness, man.
41-34 Utah State. They're looking to get an at-large bid in the NCAA tournament, maybe win the Mountain West Conference Finals, the tournament finals. Of course, San Diego State locked this regular season up earlier this week. This is our next Super Tuesday doubleheader on ESPN and the ESPN app. Purdue, Wisconsin in a Big Ten battle of teams trying to stay off the bubble. 7 Eastern, 6 Central, then Coach Cal, number 12 Wildcats squaring off against number 25 LSU in Baton Rouge. Big matchup between
two of the top teams in the SEC. Nate Grimes, 11 points, 7 rebounds, and he's got the Bulldogs right back in it, Coach.
Well, he does, and he's really been opportunistic when he's been open from the perimeter. He's knocked down the shot with confidence. They're going to give him a little blow, but he's got to get back on that floor and help his team. It's been an interesting game so far. You know, if you'd have told me that these two teams would be shooting, think about this. This is the third free throw. Count that. The third free throw that Utah State has shot, and they lead the country pretty much in drawing. They do in drawing fouls, so this is remarkable.
Merrill's the only guy who's been to the line for the Aggies.
No, and you know, so far there's been, and Fresno State's been there 6 times, so not a lot of free throw attempts. But I think both teams are trying to get more aggressive, see if they can drive and draw fouls. It's what you need to do if shots aren't falling.
3 of 4 at the line tonight for Merrill. We talked about the fact he's an 89% free throw shooter this season, and the Mountain West Conference career leader as well at 89%. Let's talk about a mark of consistency.
Well, you can go on and on about Sam Merrill and just his accomplishments.
Blackwell against Merrill, and Cada has the rebound. Cada hasn't done much offensively, but the rebounds are starting to mount. He's got 5 now.
Well, he's still a tough guy to go up against inside. You got to go over the top of him to score. He's a tough guy to really anchor your defense.
Utah State got a little too fast, and then on the baseline, Hyder ran out of bounds. You
know, Steve, you mentioned statistics, and I think statistics can be very misleading. As a coach, I never looked at stats as much, but there's a replay of the drive, and they forced baseline, and he stepped out of bounds. But I think stats can be very misleading. We talked about that with Coach Smith today. 9 turnovers. You can have good turnovers and bad turnovers.
Cada underneath, yeah, that's a wild shot.
Well, he didn't get his body squared. He's got good moves, but he's got to get his body squared and draw fouls.
Hart put it up too hard. Bean trying to get the rebound, another tie-up, and it's going to stick with Fresno State. Well, when we talked with Craig Smith, you know, he talked about stats too, and
well, here, look at this. Here's you ask about what can a guy do. Look at how he affects the game, and that shot goes up and just puts his hand up. You got to shoot it over 7'4". That is hard to do. But Fresno State gets the tie up and they get the ball back. But you know, little things make a difference. And yeah, stats are misleading.
Hart buries the 3. Well, Craig Smith was telling us the one stat he looks at is points per possession, and
right.
His team's over 1. If you're doing over 1, that's pretty darn good.
That's excellent.
All right, it's back to a 6-point game, a 2-possession game. This Bulldogs team will not go away. And Brito lost it out of bounds. Well, a few turnovers here. Utah State getting a little fast and allowing the Bulldogs.
Let's look at it again. Watch, here it is. It comes on the catch. This time not on the dribble. Fresno State changes it. You can't go back same side. You've got to get the ball up the lane line. That's the one opening you get. It's hard to go cross court, and it's hard to go to the guy that feeds you because they're going to be denied back. So that's a tough play by Fresno State, a much needed play with another chance to climb back in this. 8
turnovers now for Utah State. Hart wants more. That looked good going out of his hand, but he missed the back of the rim.
You just get the feeling they're one shot away from putting this thing right back in and putting themselves right back in the game.
Well, they need to do something to spark this crowd here. Foul upcoming.
And that's hard to do against Utah State because they don't let you get out in transition as much as most teams because they're really good. You know, you're going to go out. It's just tough. I mean, they pound the offensive glass. They don't let you get some clean opportunities.
Second foul on Aguirre-Gao, the sophomore from Omaha. Merrill with a right hand, and it falls.
Well, just when you think there's nothing else in his repertoire, what does he do? He posts up, he's a big guard, and he scores. I love that you put guards in the hole and post them up. That's just a great coaching move.
He has 20, coming off the 32-point performance at Fort Collins earlier in the week. That's his 13th 20-point game of the season.
Moved. I was wondering how long it's going to take before they finally got the ball back inside to their go-to guy on the block, and they did. Great job by Fresno State. Orlando Robinson, you know, he's only a freshman, but he can give you some money back on your return. Just get the ball inside. He's a good free throw shooter, and he's able to, you know, I think he's able to get some things done, and he also can pass the basketball. He's a very good passer.
Second foul on Justin Bean. So Bean will go to the bench here in just a moment. Bairstow gets an opportunity to come back on the floor along with Alfonso Anderson. And Robinson continues at the free throw line. Utah State kind of put the clamps on him the first time around. He only had 4 points, did Orlando Robinson, but he was, you know, it was December, and freshmen will be freshmen in December.
And he's a different player today, Steve. You're right.
They're normally not freshmen by mid-February, although Justin Hudson did tell me a week ago, oh, our freshmen are still freshmen. But you could argue against that. I guess it's consistency. You'd like to see a little more consistency. Merrill somehow finds a shot and misses.
Now that was they just left him open. I was surprised they could never leave the shooter. They just ran off. I think they forgot who had the ball.
Merrill now 7 of 12 from the floor, 20 points.
Big possession if you're Fresno State to climb back in. Need a good shot. Or foul.
Here's Williams. He's been knocking down some threes. He'll attempt one here. Misses. Burrito the rebound. And here comes Merrill on the run out. Holland going for the block, and he disrupted things. Merrill wanted a call, didn't get it, and a reach in on Alfonso Anderson. And a break. They're actually going to call Karvofsky for this one. Fresno State inching their way back. 11:37 to go in regulation. Utah State with a 7-point lead.
Hi. Hello. I'm Dave. You might know me as Lil Dicky, but there's a lot more to me. Don't you want to know who I am? Not really. Do you want to meet the guy behind the guy? Do you want to know what the industry's like? I got a strange life. Yes, I know that I'm a rapper at the end of the day, but I think it's time you knew me by my government name. Hi, I'm Dave. I'm Lil Dicky. Hi, I'm Dave. Who's Dave? Hi, I'm Dave. Please watch. Please, I'm Lil Dicky. No, shut up. I am Dave.
Why do you travel? Because nothing compares to being there. Dulles flies nonstop to 145 destinations, so you can go there and do that.
Well, you take a look at the Utah State huddle. They've got a 7-point lead. They've never trailed. And what's at stake for Utah State tonight, with San Diego State having wrapped up the regular season conference title on Tuesday? Well, the Aggies are sitting here at 20 wins. As of 12:45 Pacific today, Lenardi has Utah State in the last 4 out. Last week, the next 4 out. And you see that log jam in second place. You got to finish second or third to only have to face San Diego State in the Mountain West Conference tournament final.
Well, Steve, you mentioned that they're on the bubble, and that will change. We talked about that, but what does that mean? That means this game's a must-win game. Every time they play now, the remainder of this year, every game becomes a must-win game. That puts pressure on your teams. And you know, we talked to Greg Smith. He said our players don't like to play with that much pressure, but you know, they read too, and they know what's at stake. So if you're Fresno State now, I think they're going to try to go back inside, see if they can get some opportunities to score. And Grimes has been their guy, their go-to guy in the perimeter.
If you get to 21-7 tonight, you have Wyoming, San Jose State at home, and then at Mexico to conclude. And Blackwell with another big three, making it a 4-point game. They just will not go away.
Steve, don't look now. We've got a basketball game. This has been a great, great comeback by Fresno State. They've climbed back in this game.
Bairstow to Alfonso Anderson, one-on-one there against Hart. Hart kind of tied him up for a moment, and fellow freshman along with Grimes, Holland and Grimes, made it real difficult on the Aggies that offensive possession. Blackwell to make it a one-point game. You betcha.
Well, I can tell you one thing, Steve. If you're Utah State, they're trying to go inside, but they're going to need some deeper catches. And they're going to... I like their philosophy. They're going inside, but they got to get deeper position at the block.
Talked about having to wake up this crowd inside the Save Mart Center. Oh, they're awake here on Saturday night. Don't go anywhere. 10:35 to go. 1-point lead for Utah State.
Hi. Hello. I'm Dave. You might know me as Lil Dicky, but there's a lot more to me. Don't you want to know who I am? Not really. Do you want to meet the guy behind the guy? Do you want to know what the industry is like? I got a strange life. Yes, I know that I'm a rapper at the end of the day, but I think it's time you knew me by my government name. Hi, I'm Dave. I'm Lil Dicky. Hi, I'm Dave. Who's Dave? Hi, I'm Dave. Please watch. Please, I'm Lil Dicky. No, shut up. I am Dave.
One here, and senior Noah Blackwell, the Long Beach State transfer, nearly led a comeback a week ago at UNLV. They came up a point short, trying to do it again a week later at home against Utah State.
See, he's 0 for 3 this game from 3. He was, and that's changed in a hurry. He's now knocked down some shots. He's a 36% shooter from 3, and he's a senior. And he's been in these moments, so they've got to have him step an even basketball game, but Fresno State has just played. They've been very quick to the basketball, and Craig Smith had to use a timeout. He's going to try to regroup, going to a bigger lineup now. He's trying to get some bigger guys on the floor to see if they can't get some easier scores.
Yet has Nimi Keita on the bench right here. So the bigger guys would be Karvovsky, Anderson, and a whistle and a foul. And the Bulldog fans not happy about that.
Well, I like the action because coming out of the timeout, it's clear they wanted Sam Merrill to get the basketball in his hands, come off of a double screen, roll their big guy, keep one guy high, and see if they can isolate. So, you know, you put the ball in Sam Merrill's hands, something good's going to happen.
Almost halfway home in this second half. Karvovsky, handoff to Bairstow. Merrill to Anderson, open from the wing, and those shots were going down earlier in the season, and a big one here.
Well, Sam Merrill again with the cross-court pass. Everybody was locked in and guarded, and Sam Merrill made the cross-court pass. Now you see a zone defense. It's a 1-3-1 extended defense.
Second assist of the night for Merrill. Lead is 4. Keita will come back in when play is dead along with Bean.
You can see their length. It's 1-3-1. A lot of length on the floor.
Hart. Oh! He banks it in from deep with 4 to go on the shot clock.
Didn't call it, but you know what? Didn't need to. All that matters is the ball went down.
9 for Hart. Brito with the answer on the other end. You betcha.
What do you do to quiet the crowd, Steve? You just step up and calmly, coolly knock it down. But I thought that Utah State did a good job in the 1-3-1. That was a heck of a shot to get beat on.
Brito has 5. He's been in double figures the last 2 games. Blackwell, no. Grimes tried to keep it alive, and Anderson saves it from going out of bounds.
That's a tough defense to score over because 1-3-1, you're long, you're rangy, and you're throwing lob passes. There's no crisp passes being thrown.
Merrill dish off Anderson, and an offensive foul is going to be called on the Aggies. They get Sam Merrill on the charge.
Here's the replay. Here's Sam Merrill. He leaves his feet. Probably the only mistake he's made today. You know, he hasn't made many, but give Fresno State credit. They step up, they give up their body and take the charge, and Craig Smith's earning his keep tonight. He's going to have to work hard for his squad.
Yep.
Fresno State has come to play.
Second foul on Merrill. Keita and Bean back in the Utah State lineup here. 8:50 to go. 4-point game for Utah State.
They're back in the 1-3-1.
Trying to take over sole possession of second place in the Mountain West Conference at the close of business tonight. Williams pulls the trigger on a 3. New Williams earlier this year made 10 threes in a game against San Jose State. One of only 3 Mountain West Conference players to ever make 10 threes in a game. Frito over the top to Queta, and Hart with the contact.
That was the right read. They were fronting Queta on the post, and they went right over the top. Great read, great entry, and he was able to draw the foul. Here it is. Fans thought there was a lot more ball than the officials did.
Second on the freshman Hart. And here's Neemias Queta at the free throw line. He's been an outstanding free throw shooter this season.
That's because you had to mention.
Yeah. Well, 72% this year. He was shooting like 52% from the line. And they think that because he was out injured, the only thing he could do is practice his free throws.
Well, game free throws and practice free throws night and day. But by the way, Utah State shooting 77% on the year. That's awfully good. That's one of the tops in the country. That's
tops in the Mountain West Conference. Queta makes 1 of 2, stretches the lead out to 5, coming up on 8 minutes to go.
Well, here's the extended defense. Utah State's extending. They want to keep Fresno on the perimeter.
3, no good. In transition, here comes Bean. It's been 6 seasons since Fresno State didn't finish 500 or better in the Mountain West Conference, so they got a streak going. They got to win. Keeps it alive on the offensive glass, and what a terrific basket there.
Well, they've got size, and the size is paying off. Now Fresno State will call a timeout and give Utah State credit. It was a 1-point game, Steve, and now they make the adjustment.
That's 9 offensive rebounds, leading to 15 second chance points for Utah State here in this basketball game. 7:41 to go in regulation. A big one for the Aggies, who lead it on the road 54-47.
Hi. Hello. I'm Dave. You might know me as Lil Dicky, but there's a lot more to me. Don't you want to know who I am? Not really. Do you want to meet the guy behind the guy? Do you want to know what the industry is like? I got a strange life. Yes, I know that I'm a rapper at the end of the day, but I think it's time you knew me by my government name. Hi, I'm Dave. I'm Lil Dicky. Hi, I'm Dave. Who's Dave? Hi, I'm Dave. Please watch. Please, I'm Lil Dicky. No, shut up. I am Dave.
It's tough to quit smoking cold turkey. So Chantix can help you quit slow turkey. Along with support, Chantix is proven to help you quit. With Chantix, you can keep smoking at first and ease into quitting. Chantix reduces the urge, so when the day arrives, you'll be more ready to kiss cigarettes goodbye. When you try to quit smoking, with or without Chantix, you may have nicotine withdrawal symptoms. Stop Chantix and get help right away if you have changes in behavior or thinking, aggression, hostility, depressed mood, suicidal thoughts or actions, seizures, new or worse heart or blood vessel problems, sleepwalking, or life-threatening allergic and skin reactions. Decrease alcohol use. Use caution driving or operating machinery. Tell your doctor if you've had mental health problems. The most common side effect is nausea. Quit smoking slow turkey. Talk to your doctor about Chantix.
Utah State's lead is 7 with 7:41 to go here in Fresno. Steve Quist, Ben Braun with you. This is our next Super Tuesday doubleheader here on ESPN and the ESPN app. Purdue, Wisconsin in a Big Ten battle of teams trying to stay off the bubble. 7 Eastern, 6 Central. And Coach Cal and his number 12 Kentucky Wildcats square off against number 25 LSU in Baton Rouge in a big matchup between 2 of the top teams in the SEC. And this Utah State team has beaten 2 SEC teams this year in LSU and Florida. And what a shame it would be if the Mountain West Conference only got a 1 bid to the NCAA tournament after what SDSU has done and what Craig Smith's team has done. Remember, they went to St. Mary's without Queta and Kravosky earlier this year?
You know, Steve, you bring up a good point, but let me tell you what you can't control as a coach. Sometimes scheduling is tough. You can try to schedule all these games, but if you're Utah State, you know, there are not a lot of people are coming in to play you.
Right.
Why? Because you're a very good team and you play well at home. It's tough. So hats off. You just got to try to get as many quality wins as you can and keep, you know, hold your serve when you're playing in the league.
They went to St. Mary's. It was impressive for about the got away from him. Agao got his pocket picked right there on a turnover for Fresno State, just their 7th of the game. Merrill drives, and Merrill scores 2 more. He's got 22.
And he got fouled on that play, but there was no call. But that's how tough he is. He just shakes it off. He's not counting on the official's call. He knocks it down with his left hand off the glass. Great move.
Lead stretches back out now to 9.
1-3-1's been effective, Steve, no question.
Blackwell trying to soften up the zone with a 3, and he does.
Well, that's one way you can beat the zone. You're going to have openings at the top. The two guards are going to have the ability to get the ball over the top to each other, but you're going to have to really stretch out and hit a long 3. That was a long shot.
11 for Blackwell. He's made 3 threes. Here's Cada against Robinson, who's been quiet. And Cada has been awfully quiet offensively as well. Gives it to Bean, who kicks it out. Miller with 5 to shoot, pulls up, misses. And Williams with a rebound.
Good defense by Fresno. They stayed glued on the floor. Really nice possession.
Six-point game. Williams knifing through traffic. Robinson for 3. The big fella buries it.
Well, that's a welcome sight. You know, we talked about his ability. His talent level as a freshman is off the charts. Steve, he can get down and knock down 3-point shots. He's a great assist guy for a big guy, and he can score on the block. Really bright future.
They've made 12 threes tonight. They're second in the Mountain West Conference, averaging 9 threes a game. Merrill underneath to Bean. Out to Brito, and Brito has the answer from long range.
I like the assists that Utah State's throwing. I call those hockey assists, and you know what those are, Steve. It's that one that leads to one that leads to the shot. It's not the one that gets you the shot. It's the one that finds an open man, and they do a great job of that.
So the one that doesn't go down in the box score at all.
Nope.
But, you know, coaches see that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Blackwell, another one. Too long. Merrill tries to keep it alive, and Cada's got a 6th rebound of the game.
Well, Craig Smith was right in front of us. He just put his hands on his head saying, no, I was an open 3. And thank goodness he said they missed. But he wants his team to challenge up. Fresno State's getting some good looks now.
They might feel very fortunate if they exit the Save Mart Center tonight with a victory and an offensive foul on Nimi Cada.
Well, I mentioned this earlier, Steve. You know, you can see one of the problems is that Cada's getting the ball off the block, and he's having to dribble to the rim. And when he's doing that, he's getting double teamed both on the catch and on the dribble. If he can get deeper catches, that's a longer way to run. So let's see if there's an adjustment made. But give Fresno State credit. They've been excellent at their double teams.
3rd foul on Cada, 6-team foul against Utah State. 2-possession game. Hyder drives high off the window. He tried, and he drew contact as he went in.
You can see why this Fresno State team with their quickness is so difficult to guard. Now, they've been in so many close games, including, as we mentioned, an overtime game at Utah State. So this is not a surprise. This is a basketball game and a team that you're going to have to beat. They're not going to come out here and beat themselves. They played competitively all year long. Record doesn't show it.
Hyder's a pretty good free throw shooter, 82% from the line here through his freshman year. Justin Hudson, former assistant at UNLV and long time at San Diego State under Steve Fisher, helping to bring Kawhi Leonard to the Mesa.
Known Justin for a long time. He's done an excellent job. Played against those San Diego State teams, and boy, they were tough to play against.
And he's kind of been the defensive guru everywhere he's been, whether it's UNLV, San Diego State, even Cal Poly. His wife is the head women's coach at San Diego State. I know the Fresno State women wrapped up the regular season title this week. Congrats to them. Brito again in the corner, this time in and out, but Bean, a 4th offensive rebound. Miller misses. More offensive boards, and then a foul underneath.
Boy, that hurts you when you're a coach and you're a team that's trying to make a move. You get 2 offensive rebounds. Here, we'll look at it again. The shot goes up, and you've got to put a body. You just have to put it, but that's easier said than done. He's so active, so long, and just really carves out space down around the block.
2 fouls on Orlando Robinson, and he'll sit. Nate Grimes comes back in.
You know, it's interesting. Moses Malone did this. He would run to the rim, Steve, and he'd go out almost out of bounds. And if you're a coach, you'd say, well, what do? you're not going to block him out because he's already out of bounds. So which side do you play? And that's almost what Cato does. He gets underneath the rim, and if you know, which way do you try to get him off he just goes in from that point blank. Tough position to play against.
Two big makes right there for Cato. Stretching it out to a 6-point advantage for Utah State. Looking for a 10th Mountain West Conference win. The tournament is March 4th through the 7th for the men. The Aztecs are the #1 seed, and the rest at this point, who knows?
Well, how about the job that Brian Dutcher's done? Can't say enough about that. Unbelievable.
They got a big one tomorrow to try and go to 26-0. They're on the road at Boise State. Williams missed. Holland tried to keep it alive along with Bairstow, and we've got a whistle. They're going to call a foul on Fresno State. They got Anthony Holland, the freshman. That's only the 3rd team foul against the Bulldogs. Break in the action. Utah State with a 6-point lead, but still a 2-possession game tonight in Fresno.
Hi. Hello. I'm Dave. You might know me as Lil Dicky, but there's a lot more to me. Don't you want to know who I am? Not really. Do you want to meet the guy behind the guy? Do you want to know what the industry is like? I got a strange life. Yes, I know that I'm a rapper at the end of the day, but I think it's time you knew me by my government name. Hi, I'm Dave. I'm Lil Dicky. Hi, I'm Dave. Who's Dave? Hi, I'm Dave. Please watch. Please, I'm Lil Dicky. No, shut up. I am Dave.
Why do you travel? Because nothing compares to being there. Dulles flies nonstop to 145 destinations, so you can go there and do that.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball presented by 5 Hour Energy Shots, now in 2 great tropical flavors. Well, welcome back to the Save Mart Center in Fresno, California. A tight one, a 2-possession game as we get late. And we need to mention this, a special guest in the house tonight. The dog for the day is what it's called. 7-year-old Joseph Martinez. He was diagnosed with leukemia back in October of 2019, currently being treated at Valley Children's. He and his family are from Reedley, California. They joined the team for the shoot-around today. They're courtside tonight. I even saw him with Paul Loeffler being interviewed on the pregame show. And so that youngster, a special member of the Fresno State team tonight, and we wish him the best. Our thoughts and prayers are with him for a speedy recovery.
Well, great story, and we all pray for a great recovery.
Just positive energy, Joseph. I have a child at home that was a Make-A-Wish kid, and she fought with positive energy, and now she's doing great, about ready to go off to college. So we know you're going to win this battle, Joseph. Good luck.
Keep the spirit.
All right, here, Bairstow's at the line after the foul by Holland. That actually was the 7th team foul against the Bulldogs, so that's why Bairstow's shooting. Beg your pardon, I might have said 3. I read the wrong column before I went to the break. And Bairstow makes the first. The freshman from Australia averages 3 points a game.
Well, this is one area and one place you don't want to see Utah State. That is at the free throw line. I mean, they're shooting a little bit under 80% as a team. That's tough, you know, going down the stretch of the game. But here, of course, I had to mention that.
Yeah.
As did you.
Yeah, we both have had a jinx tonight. Right?
Absolutely.
Those people on the edge of their seats in Logan are rattling their fist at us right now, folks.
Well,
here's Grimes at 3. No. I thought they could have played for a little bit better shot than that.
Yeah, that
was
was
settling. Huh?
See, that was early, and I know Justin Hudson wasn't happy about that. They fought so hard to get back into this game and to cut it, and so now you see it's Utah State taking some air out. This is a possession game. They've got time on their side, time in the lead, and they're going to be patient, try to draw a foul, and go right back to the free throw line.
You feel like either Bean or Merrill is going to stick the dagger here, huh? Merrill, that was an air ball. Bean saved it. He's got a double-double. That was taken with 1 to go on the shot clock by Bairstow. Nothing he could do there other than throw it
up.
No,
but Fresno State, again, they've had some good possessions where they've taken Utah State down to the shot clock. But, you know, that's not, it's also by design with Utah State. Coaches would rather exhaust the shot clock than come down and turn it over or give up an early or bad shot.
Joseph likes that defensive effort by the hometown Bulldogs.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, big possession now. 3 minutes to go. Down 7 points. Williams. That double-double by Bean, by the way, his 13th of the year, and there's a steal by Brito. He leads the conference, and on the run-out, Bairstow maybe with the exclamation point.
Well, Steve, that's how quickly it can change. A two-possession game goes almost to a double-digit that fast.
A little bit of breathing room here for Utah State. Hart rises up for a 3, misses. And that's last touch by Bean out of bounds, sticking to Fresno State.
Here's the transition basket, Steve. You can see the steal and the kick ahead. That's just great vision, and also the Aggies running the floor. They're deceptive that they can get up and down the floor. They've got size, but they run the floor.
Brito almost 2 steals a game. 2:19 and counting for Fresno State. Blackwell, pull-up jumper is good over Brito.
Well, they'd love to get the ball in his hands more. He's a player that can make those plays. They've got time, Steve, but they've got to get some stops.
Merrill inside to Bairstow, and an assist Merrill to Bairstow. It's come out of nowhere.
Again, you find Sam Merrill, that hockey assist, he'll make the flex play for you, and he does. He had a teammate open from the get-go, and they found him.
Last decade, Bairstow's brother Cameron was an all-conference player at New Mexico. His sister played at Utah State.
Good bloodlines. Followed both of their careers.
Having a big, big night is Bairstow here with 5 points, 5 important points. Grimes, and he drew contact.
Well, I like that approach. Again, you can get back in this game a couple of ways. One is you can get some three-point shots, but how about stopping the clock? How about getting to the foul line, setting up your pressure, and you've got a number of possessions left. This is a really good strategy by Fresno State.
4th on Nimi Keita is going to send Grimes to the free throw line.
Every time the officials motion for Craig Smith to sit down, I keep thinking they're talking to me, but I'm with you. I'm safe, aren't I?
Yeah, you are.
It's not me. Good. I thought it was me. I've gotten used to that over the years. But there is a pretty much a leniency. Head coaches are allowed to stand up, and they...
Grimes misses an important front end of a 1-and-1. Bulldogs try and trap in the backcourt. Here's Merrill. Boy, you like Merrill, huh? After you've seen him with 22 points?
Yeah, I'll give you this. He's the only player in the country last year that 3 and 9. The only one.
And there is Bean.
Think about that, Steve. I mean, one player that accomplished that, and it was Sam Merrill. I rest my case.
68-57, Grimes misses, Bairstow has it, and that should just about do it here. Inside of 50 seconds to go. If Fresno State wants to play the foul game at all,
yeah, they do.
And there it is.
And it looks as though Utah State's going to get this win, but I can tell you this, it's Fresno State that battled. They showed you their competitive spirit, playing a team that's really talented. I've just been impressed with both teams. Utah State's really stepped up.
With Bucci and Anderson. I'll have highlights, reactions from the dunk contest, plus Zach Levine looks to become the first player to win the dunk contest and the three-point contest. Tiger tries to get back into contention at Riviera Sports Center after West Coast Conference Hoops on ESPN and the ESPN app. 23 now for Sam Merrill.
That's all.
That's it. 32 earlier this week at Colorado State.
3 or 24, or even 30 for that matter. I saw that game. It looked so easy. He just does it effortlessly.
And he never came off the floor. He's going to play a full 40. There's a foul.
Well, and I thought he was injured earlier. In fact, I know he was injured earlier. But players play, and he thought of taking him out of the game. He just shook him off. It's like the catcher. You know this as well as anybody, Steve. Catchers shaking off pitchers. He just shook his coach off, said, "Coach, I'm fine. Don't even think about it. I'm ready." Hard to argue with.
Yeah. Hyder hits the first. So, we talked about the Mountain West Conference Tournament, March 4th through the 7th. The men, Aztecs will be the 1 seed. They won the Mountain West Conference regular season. Seeds 6 through 11 play Wednesday. They need to win 4 games. Fresno State should be there between 6 and 11. Seeds 1 through 5 get a bye. They open on Thursday, must win 3, and then seeds 2 and 3, which Utah State's playing for, would avoid San Diego State until the finals.
And why would you not want to avoid San Diego State? Absolutely. Greg Smith saying, pull it out, this game's in hand. But it's important, you know, you talk about if you're trying to make the tournament, you do not want to have to go through San Diego State. It's just done a great job with this team, and they're going to be there in the end. They're going to be tough. If I'm San Diego State, I'm worried a little bit about Utah State as well. They're playing great basketball.
His 13th of the season, and a plethora again of offensive rebounds. He's up over 100 offensive rebounds for the season. And Cada got the offensive rebound, as we were talking about that. Tonight they have 13 offensive rebounds.
Well, they do, but Coach Smith's saying, hey, we don't need any more offensive rebounds. He's a great sportsman. No more classy move, but they had to work for this one, Steve.
Well, we're going to hope to talk to Sam Merrill after the ball game here. Utah State picks up a 21st win. They're now 21-7. They've won 4 in a row and 7 of their last 8 games. And Joe Lunardi had him as his first 4 out right there in the discussion. Minnesota's ahead of them at this point. And they're 21-7 now, 10-5 in Mountain West Conference play. We'll take a quick break and return to the Save Mart Center here in Fresno. Another win for the Aggies as they get it done on the road, 71-59.
Hi. Hello. I'm Dave. You might know me as Lil Dicky, but there's a lot more to me. Don't you want to know who I am? Not really. Do you want to meet the guy behind the guy? Do you want to know what the industry's like? I got a strange life. Yes, I know that I'm a rapper at the end of the day, but I think it's time you knew me by my government name. Hi, I'm Dave. I'm Lil Dicky. Hi, I'm Dave. Who's Dave? Hi, I'm Dave. Please watch. Please, I'm Lil Dicky. No, shut up. I am Dave.
Why do you travel? Because nothing compares to being there. Dulles flies nonstop to 145 destinations, so you can go there and do that.
Welcome back to Saturday Showcase, presented by 5 Hour Energy. Utah State gets a 21st win of the season, pick up a big road win over Fresno State, 71-59. And again, the leading scorer for the Aggies is senior Sam Merrill with 24 points. And now all of a sudden, you guys are starting to get on a roll here late in the season. I know San Diego State's already wrapped up the regular season title, but there's still a lot to play for.
Yeah, definitely, and we've understood that. Once we went through our tough stretch where we weren't playing very well, and to be honest, we weren't super healthy. Now we're starting to get healthy. We're playing much, much better. We've been pretty good defensively all year, but we're starting to play much, much better on the offensive end, and it's starting to show. I think a month ago we might not have won this game, especially on the road against a team that that goes on runs, and so I think it shows how much we've grown over the last month and a half.
Sam, you took an ankle, looked like a tweak early, and it looked maybe worse than it was, but you played over that. Tell us about that injury and what did you have to do to overcome that?
Yeah, just like you said, just tweaked my ankle. It's not my bad one. I'm used to rolling my ankles. I do it all the time. I've been battling it all year, so this one wasn't too bad. But I think it's just, we're all going through something. We got a couple guys that are sick and injured and all that stuff, and we're in the stretch run where every game is so important for the league standings and also for hopefully an NCAA tournament. So we just got to battle through whatever we're going through.
That lineup that you ran out today, the starting 5 of you guys, now that was the 12th consecutive time, and we know Kate at the beginning of the year was out with the knee injury, and a lot of people talk about confidence and chemistry and all that, but it just looks like it's clicking at the right time with you 12 guys. You feel like everyone's in the right place at the right time?
Yeah, absolutely. I think even at the college level, they talk about this mostly in the pros, but at the college level, you have to get used to each other. And for the first 2 months of the season, we played a different style without Nimi, and once he came back, and it took him a little bit to get healthy and to get up to speed, and we had to adjust the way that we were playing, and it took us a little bit to figure that out. I think we've got that going now, and that's give him the ball. And he wasn't great tonight, he'll admit that, but
right.
when he gets the ball, good things happen.
Well, Sam, listen, I've had 24 guys, fortunate, coached 24 guys that played in the NBA. I'm not going to have you thinking or stepping ahead, but how do you balance, because you've got pro aspirations, and I personally think you can play at the next level. How do you stay focused on your season, your senior year, and yet have those aspirations to want to play in the NBA or at the next level?
Well, I think it goes hand in hand. I think the better I play, the better opportunities I'll have. So in my mind, just, you know, the desire that I do have to play at that next level. But for me, I understand that, you know, in the Mountain West, which is a good league but not a huge league, there's not as many people watching as some of the bigger leagues. So I just have to do my best to help our team win, to help our team get back to the NCAA tournament, and then hopefully play well if we get there and see what happens. That was a foul.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I want to say this and then get back to Steve. But in watching you play tonight, obviously there's so many things you do for your team, but it's refreshing to hear a young man like yourself talk about your team first and your personal goals second. Because if you're, like you say, if your team's not playing and you're not producing and playing, none of that. Came back and really battled a very, very worthy opponent tonight in Fresno State.
Yeah, absolutely. They're a talented team, and they've been playing much better as of late. I was talking to Coach Felton, who I know, and he said they're starting to figure things out. So this was a good win for us.
How about your 5th now all-time in scoring in the Mountain West Conference? I don't know if you're going to catch Jim or Fredette. I mean, unless you guys, you know, win the national championship and you score 50 a night. But you passed Marvell Harris, who was here. And then as you also look on the screen now, you could take on Wyoming at home next, and you can pass Justin James, right? All you need is, well, I'm really bad at math. You need 10 points and you pass Justin James.
I did not know that. That's interesting.
Any thoughts on that at all, or?
It means that, like I said, you know, I hit 2,000 points on Tuesday, and that just means I've played a lot of games and been fortunate enough to stay healthy, and been fortunate enough to play with a lot of really good teammates and play for a couple really good staffs as well.
Well, we hope to see you guys in the NCAA tournament. Lenardi today had you again as the first 4 out, but I think if you keep winning and teams around you, you know, lose.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the plan, to win games.
Well, listen, I've told you a coach's dream, and I also call you a coach's nightmare. I'm glad I'm not coaching because I don't think I'd have an answer for Sam.
All right. We got to leave now. Sam Merrill, 24 points. Utah State gets a big road win here, 71-59. For our great ESPN crew here in Fresno, my broadcasting partner, Ben Braun, I'm Steve Quiss saying so long from the Save Mart Center in Fresno, 71-59, your final.